some changes from that plan that were necessitated based upon a review of the district boundaries. And we'll discuss that in just a second. These are the demographics of the advertised 5-district plan. As you can see, all the deviations are within the plus or minus 5% standard identified by the federal government. Reedy Church, as you can see, the minority population individually as well as with other groups exceeds the white population in that district, and we, as previously stated, were able to retain that district as a minority-majority district. This map simply shows the current district boundaries over the proposed district boundaries to show you the magnitude of the changes between the current plan or between the current districts and the proposed plan. This graphic identifies the changes from the plan recommended by the committee versus the plan that was authorized for public hearing by the board. The area circled basically in the south center portion of the plan, as staff was going through doing the boundary line survey of all the boundaries to ensure consistency with the federal guidelines, we actually found a census boundary that cut through an open field from one street to another. Under federal guidance, that could not be used as a boundary in drawing the district lines. The changes in that small area then necessitated the changes elsewhere in the Reedy Church district in order to fulfill the retrogression requirements and our efforts to retain Reedy Church as the minority-majority district. This graphic simply shows the proposed 5-district plan with the precincts included in the plan. Under the guidance that we have, because of the population of the districts, each district would be required to have 2 precincts. Under the current plan, there are a number of districts which actually only have 1 precinct. In order to, based upon the guidance from the registrar's office, we have prepared a plan which shows 2 precincts. For my friends in Lake Landor who raised a couple of questions related to the precinct boundaries versus the district boundary, under this plan, Lake Landor in its entirety is still in the Madison district. In drawing the precinct boundaries, Route 639 was utilized as a precinct boundary so that part of Lake Landor would be in the South Madison precinct, part of Lake Landor would be in the North Madison precinct, but Lake Landor in its entirety is in the Madison district and would be voting only in the Madison district. So they're not split into 2 different districts. The board also authorized the advertisement of public hearing tonight for a 6-district plan. Again, all the incumbents would remain within their respective districts. The plan would create an additional district on the west side of the county. Reedy Church is retained as the minority-majority district. The minority population would be enhanced in the Mattaponi district as compared to the 5-district plan. The 5-district plan, Mattaponi has about 24% of the population is minority, and under this plan, I believe we're up to about 34 to 35%. However, arguably the minority voting strength could be diluted when you're simply looking at the number of representatives, 1 out of 5 versus 1 out of 6. This is the 6th district plan as advertised by the Board of Supervisors. There were some modifications from the plan recommended by the committee, primarily on the west side of the county, shifting the Madison and the newly created district, which did result in some changes elsewhere in Reedy Church District and Mattaponi to make the numbers work. Again, the proposed plan is within the deviation. As you can see, again, Reedy Church is retained as the minority-majority district. The numbers are closer, but it still does meet the standards. And as I stated earlier, you can see the Mattaponi district, the minority percentage is up over 35%. This is, again, simply a graphic which identifies the current 5 districts that are outlined in black versus the proposed 6 district layout, so that you can see the scope of changes. And this graphic represents the changes in the advertised plan for tonight's public hearing versus the plan that was prepared by the committee, so that you can see the effect of those changes. The dark lines, again, are the boundaries proposed by the redistricting committee. And again, this is a 6-district layout with the proposed precinct boundaries. Madison District, again, Route 639 would be the dividing line. In the 6th District, we were able to utilize Route 603 or County Line Church Road as the dividing line between what we've identified as a Childsburg precinct and the Lake precinct. Mr. Chairman, that's the end of the slide presentation. Again, at the end of your public hearing, in addition to the plans, you do need to resolve the issue of staggered terms. There are several options that the board can consider if you do decide to go to staggered terms, and we can discuss those at that time. And with that, I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Fincham. Any questions at this time of Mr. Fincham before we open the public hearing?
I do have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Aker.
On the, let's just say the 6th district option, you have a Lake precinct and a Childsburg precinct. Is Justice Department going to allow us to have a precinct inside of a gated community?
I don't believe that is permitted, Mr. Akers. I think that would violate the access standards, but I can clarify that. But
we need to look at that and then determine if that's the option to go, where a precinct would be. Okay, thank you.
Okay. If I may, Mr. Akers, when I was working for Lake of the Woods, they had a precinct in Lake of the Woods clubhouse, yes. But I don't know if that was a special reason for that or not, or if they got some sort of special permission. I just don't know.
Mr. Fincham, I don't know if I have it, but you were going to give us a county map with the lines on the county map? Do you have that?
I do not have that with me. I did hand out a number of maps at your work session on the 14th. We had county maps.
And for whatever reason, other than the fact I was late, I can't seem to find those maps. Okay.
I can prepare another one for you, Mr. Thomas.
If you can, as we do the public hearing, when you get a chance, if you can come up here and just show me a couple of things, I'd appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Mr. Fincham before we open the public hearing? And we didn't do a sign-up sheet, but I understand that there will only be a few representatives from Lake Landor, or are 25 people from Lake Landor going to speak? Just a couple? Just a couple. Okay. All right. And that's totally your prerogative. All right, we will declare the public hearing for the 2011 redistricting options and staggered term to be open.
Good evening, gentlemen. I am Dr. J. Donald Cotter. My PhD is from the Institute of Public Policy at George Mason University, Fairfax, Virginia. I am a resident of the Madison District. I'm an avid observer of the policy process in local government, and I have followed closely the redistricting of Caroline County required following the 2010 decennial census. On viewing the makeup of the advisory committee convened by the Board of Supervisors, I was particularly impressed by the lengths gone to by the board and staff to ensure inclusiveness, diversity, and varied interests of the community at large. With the help of support staff, the committee worked to evaluate the population changes within district boundaries and recommend the changes necessary to ensure equal representation by and between elected officials as required by law. I previously emailed the board with comments supporting the 6th district option. I was pleased then when I saw in the Caroline Progress that this option was one of the 2 to be subject of tonight's hearing. From that same article, I began to carefully read the proposed boundaries for the 6th district option. I don't know if you have read the boundary description offered the public, but I encourage you to do so. It took me more time than it should take any county citizen to decipher the list of various roads, ditches, power lines, unmarked driveways, etc., that make up the proposed Madison District boundary. Going then to compare the published boundaries with those recommended to the board by the committee again only served to confuse me further. Something was not quite right. I went to the proposed Madison District outlined in Attachment 2 of the committee's recommendation to compare it with that described in the Caroline Progress. There being no text description of the committee's proposed Madison District boundary, I was forced to magnify the committee map of the proposed Madison District by 800% in Adobe Reader to make out the included area. Only then could I clearly make out the committee's proposed boundary and identify a seemingly innocuous change proposed by you gentlemen of the board. A portion of the boundary at the southwest corner of the committee's 6th district option recommendation will be changed to establish the intersection of Cedar Fork Road and Jericho Road as the southern terminus of the Madison District. This particular proposed change may have the unintended consequence of moving from the Madison District parties with an interest in challenging the Madison District incumbent for a seat in the coming election. So we may have, on the one hand, parties interested in contending for the Madison District supervisory seat, and on the other hand, we have a pending decision of the board that may have the unintended effect of denying those parties the opportunity to compete for that seat. The Guide to Local Redistricting for 2011 in Section F, Traditional Redistricting Criteria, lists a number of what courts have recognized as, quote, traditional criteria. Among these is, quote, political fairness or competitiveness, unquote. There are 2 reasons the board must take care when altering a recommendation of any of its advisory committees. First, unless the board has new and vital information the committee did not have, changing the committee recommendation devalues the work of the committee members. Second, the board must take every effort to avoid any potential that the public might misinterpret any reason for the change. I'm confident the committee, supported by staff, considered all geographic and demographic criteria in the Guide to Local Redistricting 2011 provided by the State Division of Legislative Services before making its recommendation to you. I'm concerned, therefore, as to how this seemingly harmless alteration of the boundary by the board will be viewed by your public. Your actions as a board must be in every instance transparent, above reproach, and enhance the public image of Caroline County across the Commonwealth. Certainly, the board has the legal authority to amend any recommendation of an advisory committee, but should do so only as an absolute necessity. In this instance, you must see that the board's decision to amend the committee's recommended Madison district boundary may, when viewed in the cold, hard light of public scrutiny, be misinterpreted by the public you serve. I know several of the members of our Board of Supervisors. I know they want to represent the best public image of our county. I know they will want to take every precaution to ensure the public cannot misconstrue the intent of their actions. I believe there is a simple solution that will alleviate any concern among the county's voters. I asked the Board of Supervisors...
Could you summarize?
4 sentences. I asked the Board of Supervisors to introduce and approve a motion tonight to restore the 6th District Option Madison District boundary presented to the Board by the Redistricting Committee. This simple change will significantly strengthen public perception of the Board's value of Advisory Committee work product and its goal of fair and open governance. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding the redistricting plan? For your 3 minutes.
Good evening, Bonnie Kilgore-Lewis, Madison District. I came in for the last one of these and brought petitions because Lake Landor was really invested in having more of a voice as an entity, and I understand that financially that 7 districts just won't work for our community. And far be it from Landor to want to put more pressure of costs, but we really do support this as a 6th district plan. I did like the old boundaries better, but you know what? I think that you guys looked and one of the boundaries went through somebody's backyard and it didn't work. I heard that. Was it a rumor? That the original just didn't work. But I do think that for the lake communities, that having our own district, more or less, I think that the needs and the problems that you have in the close lake communities are different than you have in most of the farmlands and the open communities. And Mr. Akers, you've done a fine job of representing us, and don't feel we're trying to kick you out. But we do think that we want somebody who lives in the lake. So if you just buy a house in the lake, we'll vote for you, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Mary Anderson in the Madison District. I want to speak to the fact that not having a redistricting plan in place is causing great problems for those of us who might like to run for the Board of Supervisors or the school board. Right now, we don't know what district we may be in. We've gathered some signatures, which may all have been thrown out because they were headed Madison District, if we're not in the Madison District. I understand if you make a decision tonight, then the federal government has 60 days to act on it. So we're now looking at July. And when is the election? There are supposed to be primaries in August, if I'm what I understand. It's really putting a lot of pressure on those of us who would like to do some running, and we would really like to see a decision made, a firm decision tonight, and let's be done with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, and my name is Les Stanley. I'm in the Bowling Green District, and I'd like to speak on behalf of having 5 magisterial districts, not 6. 6 would require additional supervisor, of course. You would need another school board member, you would need another planning commissioner, board of zoning appeals, and the list goes on and on. With 6, you would have a lot of 3-3 tie votes as a very strong possibility. It's a very complicated tie-breaking procedure in the state of Virginia, and I think you would find that a lot of things would not get done because of these tie votes. Chesterfield County is probably 10 times the size of Caroline County, and they have 5 magisterial districts. Henrico also is probably 10 times the size of Caroline County. It also has 5 magisterial districts. We do not need to fragment the county. We need to unify. I think all of us know we've been through an extremely difficult financial time period, and I know the board has looked at a lot of things that they would like to do. And through these tough economic times, we've got to make decisions that benefit the entire county. Good schools benefit the entire county. McKesson coming to Caroline County, economic development, helps the entire county. Broadband internet helps the entire county. We need to be unified. We need to work together. We do not need to be fragmented. I would ask you to do the 3 R's. That is to do the reasonable thing. I ask you to do the responsible thing, and I ask you to do the right thing, and that is to maintain 5 magisterial districts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Jeff Black, and I'm currently from the Madison District. At the last public hearing on this issue, you were presented with 3 options by the redistricting committee. At the last hearing, several members of Lake Landor and Lake Caroline spoke about the desire for 7 districts. Additionally, you were presented with a petition of over 800 signatures from the residents of Lake Landor asking you to adopt the 7-district plan. We are here today to ask you once again to heed the will of the Lake residents. We believe that since the vast majority of the residents of Caroline County live in an HOA or POA, the original 6 or 7 district plan would ensure better representation for these communities. Please listen to the will of your constituents. Over 800 have spoken to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Paul Weiss. Yes, I'm husband, Madison District. I think that in the last meeting we may have gotten off to a bad start with the board. Having the western part of the county and the HOAs dominate the Board of Supervisors of the county has never been the objective of the HOAs. The HOAs and Lake Landor in particular want to be heard, and we want to work with the rest of the county to solve the problems of the county, not to be the problem of the county. The citizens of Lake Landor and the HOAs want better schools while controlling the spending. We want controlled growth and enhancement while keeping costs down and improvement in the quality of life. But we also want to be heard. Basically, we want the same things as all the rest of the county districts and the people that live in there, and that is to have a better county. We in the HOAs have varying ways of life. Some of us have been raised in farms, and we understand the problems of the Port Royal District. Some of us have been raised in towns and cities, and we understand the problems of Bowling Green. But you need to understand what our problems are too. We can help the county grow, and we can help to make this a better overall county. As evidenced by the petition of 815 people, it is still our feeling that the 7-option plan is still the best. We understand, however, that there is a new 6-option plan, and we support that new option as being the best to allow the HOAs in the western part of the county to have our voice heard and to help county growth and to help the county flourish in the future. Thank you very much. And I'd like to say that I support the staggered terms too. This is my personal feeling.
Thank you, sir.
is Michelle Yont-Broyhill. My voting district is Madison. I am aware this board put together a redistricting advisory committee to evaluate 3 options, which were 5, 6, and 7 redistricting options. We submitted approximately 800 signatures in favor of the 7 redistricting option of the original plan. But I feel this county Board of Supervisors are not taking these signatures of our residents in the community seriously. I feel they restructured their own redistricting plan to benefit their own needs, and this is not in the county's best interest, may not be in the county's best interest. Why did the board decide to restructure only options 5 and 6 for redistricting when you originally had approximately 800 signatures in favor of the original 7 redistricting plan that was prepared for you to review at the last meeting? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Linda Keith, Mattapanai. I find it appalling that you feel you should create 6 districts because of a community that feels their county tax dollars are not supporting them in the decisions that they make. I chose to live where I live, and the county does not pay for my snow removal, nor does it help me with my water. I don't get trash removal. My family and I are responsible for all this ourselves. We chose to live where we live because we did not want the HOAs to tell us what we can do with our homes. The HOAs were created to protect the homeowners, and it sounds like Lake Landor takes pride in what they have done. And the HOAs in this county are phenomenal compared to other counties. But I hope the people of the lake can come together and support this county in the same manner that they support their subdivisions. The only way this county is going to survive is by everybody coming together with pride and conviction. I am still in favor of the 5 districts, although you changed it. I hope that your decision for 6 is not solely made on the one part of this community. We have to work together in order for this county to survive. There should not be a dividing line where our community should take, there should not be dividing lines. Our communities should work all together. Again, 5 districts. We can't afford 6 or 7. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Crystal Patterson. I reside in the Reedy Church District. And I just wanted to make a very simple and short comment. I have phoned my representative, Mr. Underwood, and left a message for him, and just wanted to reiterate that for you tonight as well, that I am in favor of the 5-district plan that you have proposed. I feel like, as Mr. Stanley said earlier, with the economic situation that we're in right now, that it just isn't responsible of us to put out extra money when we can't fully fund the budget as it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding the redistricting plan? Mr. Penny, do you have a letter that you're going to read? Oh, okay. I thought you were bringing it to us. But I see you.
Same thing.
I see you were bringing it to the people who can get it to more folks. Okay.
Yes, sir. I'm Maynard Penny from the Bowling Green District. I was on the redistricting committee. Frank G. was on there. He couldn't be here tonight, so he asked me to read a letter. Jim Heinbar and Bill Wick from Port Royal support this letter, as well as myself. To the Caroline County Board of Supervisors, reference election district boundaries. I want to thank you for the opportunity to serve on the Redistricting Advisory Committee. The committee worked many hours and considered appropriate legal county residents' opinions and personal aspects in providing the board with the unanimous recommendation that the board submit to the Department of Justice the 5-district option. I understand county staff has refined the boundaries of this option, and after reviewing their changes, I have no problem with accepting the adjustments suggested since they are well within the criteria required. I regret that I will not be in the public hearing on Tuesday, May the 3rd due to other commitments. I therefore would request that county administrator read this letter into the public hearing record, since I wanted it to be clear that there is no justification for the board to adopt any redistricting plan for anything other than the 5 districts or less. Any plan with more than 5 districts will only result in increasing government at a time when it is not prudent to do so. A 5-district plan will properly provide representation to the citizens and not increase the cost of governing. A plan with greater than 5 districts will not only increase the cost of government to the citizens of this county, but also dilute the minority voting strength. I firmly believe that the U.S. Department of Justice, when reviewing the county's plan, will have problems with any dilution of minority voting and will return any plan with greater than 5 districts for reconsideration. In closing, I find it difficult to understand why Caroline County, with a population of 28,000, needs more than 5 districts when counties such as Chesterfield and Henrico, with populations over 300,000, have only 5 districts. I therefore trust the county will do the right thing and approve keeping 5 districts as the advisory committee recommended. Having 5 districts will not increase the cost of government, not dilute minority voting strength, and give the citizens the appropriate representation. In the future, if there is a desire to have more districts or staggered election terms, it should be decided by a countywide referendum during the general election. I thank you for considering these thoughts and for the opportunity to serve on the advisory committee. CFG, Jim Heinbaugh, Bill Wick, and Maynard Penny. We spent a lot of time and a lot of hours, and the staff spent a lot of time and a lot of hours working on this. We couldn't see anything better than the 5-member district to give everybody equal strength. We did the best that we could on that. I think it's good. I think anything else is more costly. It dilutes the voting strength, particularly the minority voting strength. And we would, as far as staggered terms, if they broke, don't fix it. We got something that's working. Let's stick with it. And we thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding the redistricting plan? Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding the redistricting plan? Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding the redistricting plan? Hearing none, the public hearing is declared closed. For discussion. First, let's discuss staggered terms to see if we'd have an idea of moving forward on staggered terms or not doing staggered terms. Mr. Underwood.
I agree with the gentleman who just spoke. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I don't think we need to look at that.
Ms. Popowitz.
I like to see staggered terms. I think it keeps continuity of the board, history of the board in place. Certainly doesn't dilute the board. And if you have a group of people that come into this particular job, they all have their singular ideas about things, and they have to learn to work together. But there's some historical things that happen throughout the county, and if you have that historical knowledge, it's very helpful for new board members to come in, at least get that from another board member as they go through.
Mr. Seeley?
I think that we don't need staggered terms. I think local elections need to stay local elections, and it's the one time that everybody can go out and vote for local candidates and not be looking at all the other races that take place around this. So I'm in favor of leaving it just the way it is also.
Mr. Akers?
I've supported staggered terms from the very beginning. I think staggered terms is the way to go. I agree with Mr. Popowitz's fact that if a board gets completely wiped out, there is some knowledge and history that will go with that movement, and I think it's good to leave behind some continuity, if you will, and leave behind some knowledge on the board. I can tell you, and I know that, you know, I think I can say for sure, because I know when I came here years ago, I thought the Board of Supervisors was just a matter of going up, setting up there, and voting every now and then. But I can tell you there's a lot to it, and it takes a great deal of study, it takes a great deal of work. It is not a position that you can spend 3 hours of twice a month or once a month, and that's all you do. It's certainly more than a part-time job. It's not a full-time job, but it's more than a part-time job. So again, I think that it's important that we do keep knowledge on the board at all times. And we've been fortunate in Caroline County, to be quite honest with you, over the last years, is the fact that you've not seen a large movement in the board. But, you know, things change. And so the potential is there. And I just believe that we need to protect some of the knowledge that is on the board. So I support staggered terms and always have.
Okay, so I get to decide the fate, and I've been against staggered terms since the beginning. My thought about staggered terms is that some supervisor would be running in basically an off period, and I think when the county runs all local elections, that's when we have probably the greatest turnout. Sometimes the presidential election is a little more turnout, but they're pretty close. And I think those off years, if you were running in those off years, turnout wouldn't be the same, so you wouldn't get a fair representation from voters. So I thought staggered terms were not a good idea when it was first proposed, and I have not changed my opinion since. It sounds like it's 3-2, but if you'd like to make it official, we can do that. Is there a need to make it official, or we just need to drop staggered terms as a thought for now?
I don't need a motion, Chairman. Obviously, each one of us give our opinion, 3-2. Discussion, I don't think we need it.
I didn't think so either, but I just wanted to make sure. Okay. So we are going to, for lack of a better word, abandon the idea of staggered terms for now. And I guess at least for this election cycle, so it won't happen in this election cycle. And the next order of business on this note is to decide between the 5 or 6 district plans. And I'll start at this end this time. Mr. Akers.
Mr. Chairman, and I certainly have heard what everybody has had to say. The ones that want the 5 district, and the ones that want the 6th district, and the ones that wanted us to go back to the 7th district. I can tell you that I do have a concern with 7 districts, and I had a concern from the very beginning with 7th districts. I represent 2 POAs in the Madison district, and I can tell you that I've spent the years that I've been on this board trying to bring the lake communities, the POAs, into county government, consolidate the 2, bring them in, let them, everybody feel like they're part of Caroline County, and that have people outside of the lake communities accept that fact. And I think it's important that we do not try to divide the county into pockets. And so 7 districts, I have never been in favor of that, and do not feel like that it's in the best interest of Caroline County for 7th district. The 5 districts concern me from the standpoint that we saw it happen in the last census and the last redistricting. The Madison district, if you look at 2001 numbers, the Madison district was the smallest populated district in the county. I believe it had 4,400 people. I think I saw that somewhere, Mr. Fincham, 4,400 people in the Madison district. Yeah. And In 2010, we have 8,000, almost 8,300 people in the Madison district. And I see that happening again. My thoughts are, it is not fair to the people I represent, nor is it fair to me, because, or whoever sits in the Madison district seat. That person has one vote on this board. However, I am representing and I am speaking for, in this case, 8,300 people. And Popowitz, he has 45 or 4,600 people in his district, and he has one vote on this board. Seeley has representing 47 or 48, and he has one vote on this board. So it is not fair to the people I represent that here one person is trying to represent and have the vote of 8,300 people. So from that standpoint, the 5-district option bothers me because I see that happening within a short period of time before the next census is taken and the next redistricting will take place. Ladysmith Village, Pendleton, are certainly part of that 5-district. I mean, regardless if Lake Lando would be in it, and Madison, and Pendleton and Ladysmith Village. And I believe that Campbell's Creek subdivision comes into the 5-district plan. I believe it does. So I see the areas that have grown the greatest in the last 10 years are basically still in the Madison district. And so it bothers me for the 5-option plan. The 6-option plan, I've served on a board that there were even numbers. There were 4 members when I came on this board. And I can assure you that I can only remember, I probably can count on my hand, the number of tie votes that we had where nothing was accomplished. We were able to work through our differences. We were able to come to compromise and come to some type of agreement where the work of the county got done. And it got completed and we moved ahead. So from that standpoint, I think the 6-district option is one that I support and would certainly like to see us look at. The revised, the one that we had a public hearing on tonight.
Mr. Seeley?
Mr. Chairman, some of the things that didn't come out this evening are, in addition to what we're redistricting, the state's also redistricting. And what those lines are dependent on is the current lines that we have for the county today. So if we go to a 6-district plan, we will end up with 4 additional precincts for the House of Delegates. With a 5-district plan, we only end up with 3. Now, the difference between 5 and 6 and the cost for having those precincts is pretty amazing. Add to that the other of the delegate districts, and I think what you start to see is the cost of having the 6th district creep upward beyond what we're even being shown tonight. From that perspective, I think that 5 districts makes the most sense in terms of cost and in representation in Richmond as well, because what we're going to do is further dilute our strength in the General Assembly with having to additional House of Delegates precincts inside of precincts. So what you're going to have to do is go in and check in, look at where you're voting for in which district, and then you're going to then have to be told which district you will vote for the House of Delegates. So we make this more complicated and more expensive by going to 6 districts. From that perspective, I also look at all the rest of the cost that goes with adding an additional for everything, school board, board of supervisor, planning commission, and all the voting precinct sort of cost that goes with that. So I'm in favor of 5 districts.
Mr. Popowitz?
This is one of the ones that I've had to wrestle with a little bit because, and I understand the costs that are involved with 5 districts. But there's something that really bothered me with the 5 districts, and that was our school board. And goodness knows I've had my battles with them. But at the same time, I was looking at 3 people being taken off of that, or 2 of those people being taken off that board and no chance to run, or if they did run, they'd be running against a current member. And that kind of bothered me. I don't know from a standpoint of his personal opinion that